the show. I'm really excited about this one because he stands for everything that purpose over pension stands for in regards to entrepreneurship and just opening your mind and your mindset in regards to setting yourself up not only on the job, but off the job as well. So I'm going to let Nate tell me everything about him, where he was a police officer, how he got into entrepreneurship, what he has going on right now. We'll share our stories. And like I said, I'm pumped for this one. So Nate, appreciate you, brother. This moved quick. I met you on Sunday through social media. Catherine, LT's daughter, thank you so much for passing over the flyer to his event, which he'll talk about later. But you got to check out her page too. She's great. But yeah, so I started talking with you via DM and everything just moved so quick. And I said, listen, man, how about you just come on the podcast? You talk about what it is that you're doing. You're talking about this great event that you're throwing. And so let's get into it, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate the introduction. It's always a pleasure to meet other like entrepreneurs like yourself. And right away when we started texting right away, like I knew you were a good dude, and I'm like, all right, cool. Like we're gonna mesh up, go out. But yeah, my name's Nate Mitchell. I'm from Ohio. Kind of raised here for the most part. I'm actually from Canada. I moved here a little bit, and then went to high school in Chardon, Ohio. And then when I was in high school, I was like, I want to be a cop. Like I like to break up the fights and kind of get into it, like know what's going on and everything. And then I had a few people that I knew that were cops. So I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm like, I'm just born to be a cop. Let's go. And went to Kent State Police Academy. And then I got hired, like first job, like that first cop job in like a small town, like got paid $12 an hour, but you're just so excited you're a cop. Right. And then ended up getting my dream job out at a sheriff's office in Geauga County. And that was like where I really thought I was just going to retire. I'm like, everything's made. I'm good. And I was just so excited to be there around good people, good agency. And then kind of what happened was I just started to like dabble a little bit and like kind of making a little extra money on the side. Or like my wife's spending all my money, right? It's like where's all this money going? Right. I'm like, I got a house, I got ride dirt bikes. I'm like, where? It's just like all going somewhere and I don't even know. So then it was like all right, we got to start something on the side. Like, what am I going to do as a side hustle to help bring in money so I can afford my wife? No, just teasing. But, I need more money. Like, and so I actually started a carpet cleaning company. We called it Blue Lake Cleaning. And the idea was I was just going to work, stay full-time as a deputy. It was never a thought to leave the sheriff's office. It was always like, I'm going to be a cop the rest of my life. I'm going to retire. I'm going to get a great pension, great health insurance, like financial security's there.
Yeah.
And then I'll just do this on the side, make some extra money and it'll be good. And then so on my days I would work night shift mostly. And the next day I'd usually start a job at like noon. And then the full next day I would just work and clean carpets. All the guys made fun of me, called me carpet suckers. And you can only imagine, where that led.
Yeah, of course.
And, but what happened was I started to hire police and fire to work on the side as well. And so then I was like, all right, cool. Now I'm generating some momentum. Now I'm doing some cool stuff. And then I got too busy. And then we had our first kid. And then it was like all these calls like started to kind of affect you a little bit different. Not necessarily because you're like thinking of your kid, but you're like, wow, like this family just lost this person. Like in a tragic accident, like, what am I doing? Right? You're in the fog the whole next day. The first day you're off, you're in that fog. You wake up late, you're like, man, like I didn't sleep much. I'm crabby as shit. Like my wife says something, you just snap, right? You're just like,
that's right.
What happened was, we just became so busy that I was like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and, I'm either going to pick being a deputy or I'm going to pick Blue Lake Cleaning. And, it was a pretty hard choice, but I ended up picking Blue Lake Cleaning, which is the cleaning company. It was just, at first I got teased a lot. There's obviously a lot of details in there that I'm leaving out, but like, that's the short story is, I went with the entrepreneur route just because I felt like it was so exciting not to have a cap, right? In most of our contracts, we have that, all right, here's a 3-year contract, you can get 3 at 3, and you look at the average, expense and all that stuff and the average percentage of living increases, and it's like, that says it's like 2 and 2 or something, but you're like, that doesn't include food. It doesn't include rent. It doesn't include all this stuff. And you're like, how are you going to live on what they're paying, when you don't know? And that was always just like the weirdest thing in my mind. It's like, I'm going to know what I'm going to make the next 3 years. And I see it's already not enough. So it's like, what am I going to do? How am I going to kind of get to that next step if I know what I'm going to make the next 3 years and I know it's not enough? Am I going to cut down what I like? Even though I already felt like I was at, pretty low, kind of, I don't want to say low level of income, but just like I didn't have a lot of extra money,
Sure.
and I did hobbies they're probably more than the normal bride's crazy toys and stuff, but that was who I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it just didn't work out for me. And long story short, I went on that entrepreneur route, and it's been about a year and a half now since I left full time. So I'm still a little new, but
Good. Good. So let's go back to, because most people that'll be listening to this, they're still on the job. Now you got deputy. What was the name of the department again?
Geauga County Sheriff's Office.
Okay. Now what does that entail? A lot of people here, they don't really understand what a deputy is. They don't understand what a sheriff is. It's usually just police departments, and then the sheriff, they may come, and if say somebody is getting evacuated from a home, or they'll gather up the items in the house, or they'll make sure that everything is out that needs to be out, things like that. So what exactly does a deputy or sheriff do?
Sure. A deputy in Ohio basically does the very similar stuff as police. We are the exact same thing. The only difference is we're police for the county. So we still have jurisdiction in different cities. Obviously, we're going to work with the city police if there's a problem. But ultimately, we have jurisdiction anywhere in the county.
Gotcha.
So, and then we do the normal police things, domestic disputes, car crashes, neighbor disputes, all that stuff that you do as a cop is exactly what we do. We're just a deputy in the county.
Understood. Now, what did your hours look like? Every day, how many hours were you working? What days were you off? And did you have to do a lot of overtime because of manpower or a lot of events going on within your department?
Yeah, so we work 12-hour shifts. So I'd basically work like 5 days on. Like for 1 week, I'd work 5 days, and the next week I would only work 2.
Oh,
so that was obviously a huge decision, and having a side job for me, right? Because I had all this time off.
Yeah.
So it was like, when I'm not working, I'm spending money.
Right.
I mean, whatever it is, whether you're chasing girls, whether you're doing your hobby, like you're spending money.
Right.
So, that's kind of what I ended up, kind of making that decision of, hey, I need to do something on the side because this is a lot of time off.
Is that that?
And as far as like side jobs and stuff, there was always side jobs you do. Whether it was traffic details or sport games for high schools or, different things like that. There was always something you could do. And probably like halfway through my career, I was in for almost 10 years, but probably halfway through my career, like once I really started looking at starting a carpet cleaning company, I looked at the pay of those side jobs, and a lot of like around here, it's kind of like, maybe at that time it was like 35 an hour. Now it's maybe 45 an hour or so. And I'm like, if I can spend all, 8 hours, let's say, and I make $45 an hour versus Blue Lake, I work 8 hours and make $100 an hour. It's like, what is going to be better for my family? And that was really once everything started to really think about all this stuff and really process it in my mind. And then, kind of went down the road of like, hey, I'm just a dumb cop. Like, I don't think I can start a business.
Sure.
That definitely went through my mind. And now I realize that like first responders have all the perfect qualities that create successful business owners. All those qualities are the same. The only difference is the longer that you're in for, the more you don't like people. Right? So the longer you're in first responder, the less and less you start to like and trust people.
Wow. That's so
you see that all the time. Like retired guys, they're just like, they just kind of, I don't want to say they hate life because that's not true, but like they're tired.
Well, I think that's a great point, Nate. I went down to Delaware this past weekend, and it was my dad's birthday. We went out to eat. I've never been to this place before, and my wife looked over at me and she's like, "Are you all right?" And I was like, "You know what? Something doesn't feel right. Like I'm not familiar with this environment. I don't know these people. I'm a New Yorker. Like it just doesn't feel right. Like I don't like crowds anymore." I don't want to be around a bunch of people anymore unless it's something that's aligned with what it is that I'm interested in or going to church and worshiping God. But aside from that, I just want to be home with my family. So I'm glad that you touched on that because it's so true.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's crazy. Like you look at yourself before you went in, and you're like this outgoing, crazy, like say whatever's on your mind thing, and then you kind of go through that process, right? And then let's say it spits you out at the end, and now you're like, I don't like people. I really don't laugh that much unless it's dark humor, and all this other stuff, and it like totally changes you. And I think that to have the opportunity, I'm definitely blessed to get out. I know that a lot of times that I go and talk to my old buddies, they're like, dude, how did you get out? Like, how did you do it?
Yes.
And they're like, you're so lucky you got out. Like, I wish I could get out. Like, all those comments start happening. And then that was really when I created this kind of new realm of it's called off duty entrepreneur. Um, of like to try to show more first responders that they can do it and they have the exact power and choice that I have.
That's right. Now, what were their pain points? The ones that are saying, "Oh, you're so lucky you were able to get out. How do you do it?" Here in New York City, a lot of it is doing a lot of overtime. The city not backing their employees when it comes down to situations that require them to be hands on and to enforce the law. So, and then the list goes on. But
Mhm.
for you and your peers, what was that pain point?
Well, Geauga County, the county I worked for, it was one of the richest counties in Ohio. So we got paid really well. And so most of the time I think people are kind of blocked by that thought of like, hey, the pay's great. Plus I have pension, plus I have great health insurance, right? So it's like, and you always hear business owners complaining of like how expensive health insurance is.
Sure.
Always, right? They're like, oh, it's so expensive.
Right.
Um, and I think that in their minds, they just can't kind of fathom that they think they can own a company. They're kind of talked out of it. Like it's so hard to own a company. It's so hard. And I don't want anyone to get it wrong. It's a lot of work, right? But it is no different than me going day in and day out to be a deputy or law enforcement officer and then waking up the next day in the fog.
That's right.
Like it is no different. And you know what? It doesn't burn me out as much, right? Like I definitely think about it. I think about work all the time, but it's like it doesn't affect my marriage. It doesn't affect me being a dad. Like when I was a deputy, right? There were calls that we took that, like I didn't even want to look at my son the next day because I'm like, I just saw this the day before.
Right.
It's like, and then, now social media for first responders is a totally different thing because, let alone someone recording you, maybe doing something you shouldn't, or just, you see a tragic event and the next day and the next week you have to relive it because social media is going and all that it is on social media is that traumatic event. Like, oh my God, so and so lost this person, so and so lost, and you're reliving it again and again and again.
So I, yeah, you're really hitting some great points, and that's one of the things that I could not stand. A lot of people that are in NYPD, they'll understand where I'm coming from with this. WhatsApp. There used to be so many WhatsApp groups and and chats within the department or within precincts that would send nothing but negative things happening. Like we saw enough in the street. We saw enough in the scope of our employment, but they're constantly sending videos of violence and death and abuse and some of the most vile things that I really don't understand where that comes from or why that's necessary, especially if we see it face to face on a regular basis.
Mm. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, New York City, you guys have it way worse, obviously, out there. I mean, my whole department was probably, maybe like 115 deputies. So like I can't even imagine what
Yeah.
New York City's like. But to me it's those are my friends, that are working. And it's like I use this kind of I just started saying it because I keep saying I'm gonna make a little like short video out of it, but I haven't. But it's like, just kind of imagine like this little box, like, sitting in the road, right? And then inside the box is that first responder world, right? And it's like, and we were all in that box and we lived, breathed, and just dreamt about being a cop. Like that's what we did. And it's like And I was in there, and now I kind of got one foot out, and then I started to see some of the light, started to see some of the good. Kind of got my personality back, and my friends are still in that box.
Nate, how old were you when you became a deputy?
Uh, well, I became a cop when I was 21, and then when I became a deputy, I was probably 22 or 3.
Okay. And how long were you in law enforcement?
10 years, just about 10 years.
10
Yeah, I'm 33 now, so
Oh, good for you.
thanks, man.
Man. All right. So those people that said, "How do you do this, Nate? You're lucky." That triggered something within you.
For sure. Yeah, because those are my friends saying that.
Yeah.
Like you're so, and then then I started to kind of take note of that. And then when I started talking to all my firefighter friends or cop friends, I'm like, hey man, like, how you doing? They're like, dude, I want out. I want out. Like, and then that turned into like the first thing that they said to me, like every time I saw them was like, dude, how can I get out? And then I started to just kind of like walk up and just start talking to cops just around. Like if I saw them working and I was just obvious, but hey man, like, how are you? Like, how's everything going? And then after like that 3-minute conversation of like the BS stuff, I was like, hey man, I was deputy with Jaga for like 10 years. Like, oh wow, really? Like, how did you get out? Like, it was like I could have bet someone, that they were gonna ask that, like right when I told them I was a cop, how'd you get out? So what happened was I just heard that so many times. And then I was like, how can I get a message out for them to start something on the side? Like just teach them something simple to start, like window washing, right? The cost to start up window washing is probably under $500. You just use Dawn dish soap, you put it in a little bucket, and you get a squeegee from Home Depot. You know what I mean? And I have a buddy right now who started in January, and he's up to $40K this year. Washing windows.
Wow.
And it's just like, the more I can tell people about that, the more I like encourage and hopeful they become. It's like this dude wasn't like, crazy intelligent that was like number one in his class. He's a cop who was a football player in high school. Football player became a cop, like your typical, right? Football player, cop. Like, and now he washes windows, and probably next year he could leave if he wants. You know what I mean? It's his first year of business, so that's going to be your slowest. And then it's all reoccurring customers, so you can market to them next year. And so you're guaranteed already this time next year, he's going to be at least 40,000. Not to mention, as he grows, he should be at 80,000 this year. By the end of the year, he should be at, 160. And then that's Ohio when we have crappy weather majority of the time.
Jeez.
So it's just like the more people that I can tell and like help, the better I feel. So I found that like that has been, not to use your word, but kind of like my purpose now of like,
No,
I feel like,
use that word. Use it. Use it.
That's good for SEO. Use purpose.
Yeah.
The more that I can like help other people, and like I feel like there was a purpose that I was a cop for 10 years. Like I feel like that's like the purpose of me being a cop for 10 years, and now doing this route with Blue Lake Cleaning and then the off-duty entrepreneur. Like I truly feel like this is my path that I'm supposed to be on. And I love hearing these stories about how like the guys are killing it, or like, just the guys are out there making money on the side. And the crazy thing is like some people are making, upwards of $500K a year, and they still don't want to leave being a first responder, because it's like, it's just, it's in their blood.
Makeup.
It's like
their makeup. Yeah.
Yeah. And the transition stuff, that's a whole nother topic. I'm sure we'll talk about sometime, but there is like that fear, right? Like, what if the economy crashes?
Right.
Like, well, dude, you will find something. You know what I mean? Like, you will find something to do.
Yes.
I have another buddy who when I was very first cop, he was my very first felony arrest. This is a crazy story. Very first felony arrest, and I was pumped. Young cop, felony arrest. Like,
right. Yeah.
I think it was burglary, but long story short, he rides dirt bikes, got sober, reached out to me, we went riding, and he kicked my ass, by the way. He was a really good rider. But he wanted to start a landscape company. So I kind of helped him like create that land. He's been sober now for a while, so I trust him. Like I created that landscape company. He just closed out his first month last month at $20,000.
Good for him.
Mowing lawns. It's just like and then I feel like, you know, I I kind of feel like sometimes law enforcement's like, or first responders are kind of being tricked, right? You're being sucked in to this funnel, and then like if you don't get out, that funnel spits you up, and you kind of hate life. I
Well,
mean,
yeah, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. It's about mindset, right? I believe much of this is when the people that have come before us say that being a law enforcement officer means completing your career and getting a pension, and they make that the staple of it, it messes with the mind of those that become new police officers, deputy sheriffs, whatever the case may be, and says, I have to stay here for this amount of time. And if I leave, I'm a quitter, or I'm going to get made fun of, or I'm leaving security and I've already built up all of these expenses. How am I going to go out and risk building a company when I have 3 kids? I have a mortgage that I could barely pay for. I have cars that I could barely pay for. Like, what happens then? So I think it's very important, and you touched on this. I think it's very important, like you did your 10 years, to realize that this is it's just a job, just like any other job.
mm,
And you can leave. And if it's not aligned with your purpose, if it's not aligned with what you feel like you should be doing, then you exit.
mm. It's hard. I think, the longer you're in for, the more you're just likely to stay because, you're just like, I'm a cop. That's what I'm here for. That's what I do. I'm just tired, right? This is me just being tired. So I don't like it. It's just like I'm tired of going to some of the calls. Like, um, and by no means am I saying it's a bad career or, don't be in it. Cause like there are some people that, you know, like they love it and that's fine. I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying that there are different paths. There are different paths you could take.
That's right.
Um, and nowadays with all the different changes and all the different stuff, like it's a hard job for the money that you make.
Right. And you did the 10 years that you needed to do for your purpose, right? Just because a retirement of what would full retirement be in your department? What amount of
I want to say it was 25 years.
25 years, right? And
Yeah.
that's what I want people to understand, that just because the standard is 20 or 25 years doesn't mean you have to be there. If you with it, like I did 17 years, I had 3 more years so I could have retired with a full pension. I left because I felt that I fulfilled my duty. I felt that I fulfilled what God needed me to do within that time. And now I'm an advocate for other police officers to think the same way, just like you are.
No, I think that's awesome. I think that there are such good police officers out there, and then I look at it now as like they're so talented, they could be making so much more money for their family. Like, and it's not even like my fault. I'm thinking that I'm just like, dude, you have so many skills right now that are so valuable in a marketplace, and I see you struggling. I see you living paycheck to paycheck. And that overtime that you're going to get paid $230 is not going to help you because that money's probably already spent. And it's like the more people that I like, my mentor, right? I have a mentor, Mark Evans, and he's sometimes said, he's like, dude, I just want to shake you guys, like to tell you guys, like, there's a better way, right? Because he's making, probably like $1 million a minute. But it's like, and that's how I feel now. Like some of my friends, I just want to like grab them and kind of just shake them a little bit, like, wake up. Like you have a kid at home. Like, and I think really a big part of it too nowadays is mental health is so huge, right now among first responders, huge. There are things that happen now and that people do now that maybe they used to not do, or they're just starting to notice now. I'm not sure which, but when are you gonna break? I think that's like an important thing now of like, how much more are you going to take, and are you gonna know? Are you gonna be able to? Or are you just gonna go on that call and freak out?
Right.
And then what are you gonna do after? Because now it's happened once. Are you gonna go back? Are you gonna do something else? That's why like just starting something on the side gives you an exit. So if something like that were to happen, you can wash windows. You know what I mean? Like you can go clean carpets, you can go mow grass. you're not like, man, I got to go back to work and you got, a wife and 4 kids at home. Like,
Right.
because that's not going to end well.
Right.
And, yeah.
So true. Now, you getting into carpet cleaning, how did that come about? From law enforcement to carpet cleaning? That sounds wild, but
Yeah. Yeah. That was a wild one. So I actually wanted to open up a car detail company, just like a small one. And, when I was doing it, I found that, the overhead was too much. Mobile detailing wasn't a thing back then. And I needed a facility and it just didn't look good. So my father-in-law was like, you should look into carpet cleaning. I'm like, I am not looking into no carpet cleaning. Like no. So I did. And the more I did to prove him wrong, the more I was like, this is going to work. And then kind of the icing on the cake, because I called the local carpet cleaner and I was like, hey, I'm a deputy in Geauga County Sheriff's Office. I'm thinking about opening up a carpet cleaning company in Geauga County for police and fire. Like, do you care if I just come do a ride along? Right? Those are my words, right? Ride along. Like, that's all we knew, cop language. You mind if I come do a ride along? He's like, yeah, that's cool. I'll come do a ride along. I'm like, okay.
yeah.
So, I went and did it. I was like, wow, this is really easy. You just need the equipment. And so then I ended up, my wife and I, we bought a carpet cleaning, all the equipment, all this stuff, and then we started. And I would say that the biggest thing that, looking back, the biggest decision that I made was saying that I was going to do it, that I'm doing it. I remember telling the first person that I was opening up a carpet cleaning company, and they looked at me like I'm a total idiot. They're like, what? You are not. I'm like, no, I'm going to open up a carpet cleaning company. And then, that led to the next thing, like Nate's a carpet sucker, like all this crazy stuff. And it worked.
So what was that hard for you? I find that when I started my entrepreneurial ventures, that it was very hard for me to speak about them because I didn't want to come across as an imposter, or I didn't want to let people know what I was doing, and then I fail at it, and they're like, "Oh, you sucked at that. You left the job, or you started this, and you sucked at this. Or what makes you think you're going to be successful?" How was it sharing with me? But because when you have a business, you have to let people know what you do.
I agree with you. I agree that was one of the hardest things was, all right, cool, I'm going to do it. The second hardest thing was, now I have to tell my friends I'm going to do it. Right. And like that brotherhood of like, we're going to be a cop for life together, and then to no longer doing that, to mindset shift, to them not understanding why you're going to go do it. That was a huge, huge thing. It's like asking the girl's parents if you can marry her, right? It's like that they're going to say yes, they're going to be fine, but it's like, oh my gosh, this is hard. It's almost harder to say than it is to do it.
Sure.
But then once the word got out, then everyone's like probably secretly thinking he's going to fail. Like, it's not going to work. There's no way he can run a business. 2, okay, he's running a business. Okay, he's leaving. Okay, how did he do it? Because I want to do it too. To kind of going back to, all right, cool, now let's pull out some friends, right? Let's figure out some paths for them.
So it went from doubt to some people doubting you to maybe he might pull this off to, hey, can I get a job?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And around here, we're kind of known as like the company that hires first responders too. So we have a lot of people that are still full-time at fire departments, and they just work for us 1 or 2 days a week. And then, we probably have 4 firefighters on our team. And then we have, some healthcare workers on our team. And then that's basically it. We have about 16 people now.
16 people?
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a year and a half since you've had the business, you said?
So it's been about 7 years total.
Oh, 7 years. Okay. Well,
yeah.
Earlier was about a year and a half. Is that the Facebook group that you were mentioning, or?
No, that's how long I've been out.
That's how long you've been out. Got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I was still in, the volume of calls required me to have people working basically, Monday through Friday. And so I used police and fire to basically fill those hours that I was working for a few years. And then what happened was it just kind of got bigger and bigger. And then next thing you know, was just too much stress on me, honestly. I was like, all right, I'm working night shift. I'm coming home, I'm sleeping. I wake up, I have 5 missed calls from the text about so and so canceling or so and so not happy or whatever the case was. And then it was still just me answering the phones. We're getting about 10 to 15 calls a day. So I was waking up, checking all those voicemails, calling everyone back. Um, and it was affecting, my life. I mean, it was affecting, my relationship with my wife, my kid. So it was just kind of like, what path do I want to go down here? Because this isn't going to work.
Got you. Now, do a lot of your clients know that you have off-duty firefighters and off-duty police officers,
Yeah.
employees? And
Yeah.
on to that, how do you think that's helped your business? Has it hindered it at all in any way? Any weird moments with that?
No, I mean, it's helped it 100%. So I actually do, now, like, I advertise specifically as I was a law enforcement officer with a local agency. They have my whole story. Like, if you, we do this thing called Valpak. I don't know if you guys have that where you are, but it's like this mailer that has coupons, right? There's probably like 50 coupons in there. It doesn't sound like it would work, but for some reason it works. On the back of the Valpak, it has my whole story, like, and a picture of my wife, me, and my kid.
Wow.
And now it's not sent out to every house. It's kind of sent out to like 300,000 plus homes, like, dollar range, $300,000 plus. And it just says, my name is Nathan Mitchell. I grew up in Chardon, Ohio. I was deputy at the local sheriff's office. I started a carpet cleaning company. We mostly hire police and fire. We base our core values on honesty, commitment, and integrity. Give us a call if you need anything. And then it lists out the services. And everyone knows that story.
That's great.
Everyone.
That's great. Yeah.
And on the off-duty entrepreneur, on the form, you see people ask like if they should advertise it. And I've always been a huge proponent of like, tell what your story is.
That's right.
Because that, like, one, like, we are well respected in Ohio and anywhere. You're well respected. When you were a law enforcement officer, first responder, you're kind of in like that top tier. So like the normal person's tier of trust level, you're a first responder, you're up here all of a sudden. Doesn't matter, I don't think, which state. You're up here. So it's like, all right, cool. Come on into my house. Hey, here's my garage code. Just go let yourself in. It's like the bedroom upstairs on the top left.
There you go.
Like, hey, there's a rifle on the floor. It's loaded. Don't touch it. All right, cool. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna they're not gonna do that to the average person.
That's right. That's right. I agree with that 100%. And when I was more in tune with dealing my luxury timepieces, that was something that I put on the forefront because I'm dealing with $20,000, $40,000, $50,000 timepieces, people selling them to me, people buying them from me, exchanging large amounts of money, wiring large amounts of money where it's based on trust. So I made sure I put that out there immediately in order to take people. Some people, if they don't know what you're doing or you look a certain way, like they'll be interested in what you have, but then they'll drop down to here. But with me sharing that I was a police officer or a detective in the New York City Police Department, they stayed up here and they wanted to deal with what it is and the services that I have. And with my wholesaling venture, I am working along with my friend Ilya, who owns a company by the name of Finest Home Buyers. That's the wholesaling company. And on his site, everything is stating how he was a police officer, telling his story as well. And with him mentoring me right now, I'm using his platform to help bring business to me as well. Crazy story is I had a woman the other day that was considering selling her property, and this is down in Greensboro, North Carolina. And she said, well, how can I trust you? I don't know who you are. Where are you calling from? So I said, listen, my name is Lenny. I'm a retired New York City detective from the NYPD. And she was like, well, you know what? If I was you, I wouldn't be letting people know that. I said, oh, this is a person. I'm scratching my head. And she was like, people that might want to do business with you might not do business with you because you're a cop. And I said, wow, this is the first time I've ever heard something like this. And she's trying to give me all this advice, and she's super aggressive about it. Make a long story short, she was like, you know what? What's your name? I'm going to vet you. I'm going to vet your company. I was like, listen, run my name. You'll see me on the New York City Police Department site with all my information, any lawsuits that I have, whatever. And she was like, yeah, I'm going to vet you, and then I'm going to call you back. Never heard anything else from her. So to make a long story short, she was the one that didn't like jobs, even though she was a social worker, but she tried to put it on other people. So I wanted to ask that question just to see if it might have ever been an issue for you. Which,
Yeah, I mean, it's few and far between. I remember one time, like, someone didn't do enough vetting, and I went to someone's house and ended up being a drug dealer. And it was like noon, right? So the blankets are over the windows. You walk up, and you're like, oh my gosh, like what? And like everywhere is like police and fire company, right? First responder base. And I get in there, and there's just like marijuana just everywhere. Like this is back before was years ago. And so I do the walkthrough, measure all the carb. I get out, I call Link County Narcotics, and there's like, this dude had a lot of stuff in there, and there was a kid sleeping on the couch. So, I mean, like some of those people, I didn't get that job. But it's all about your clientele too. Like, do you want to do business with someone that doesn't like police?
of course, then no.
Like,
If you want to do business with me,
no,
just
right,
keep pushing.
right. I'm gonna go to the next one.
That's it.
Because there's a lot of people that do want to do business with police. Like, they trust us, and they should.
Yeah.
We're not going to do anything wrong. Like, we are not going to take advantage of you. We're not going to steal anything. Like, everything's going to be fine. Like, we're going to treat you just like we would treat anyone.
Right. And in the world that we live in right now, I feel like police officers have to be extra accountable because cell phones, there's cameras everywhere. And, there's been a lot of negative things that have been brought to the light, which needed to be brought to the light. So if a police officer is conducting himself in a manner that's not professional or, is corrupt, then it's that much easier for them to be on the hook. So
Sure. And I mean, if you do something now, that headline is going to say, Lenny, retired police detective from NYPD. You know what I mean? Like, it's still going to be with you. So you might as well use it to your benefit now.
that's right. Milk it for everything that you can. That's what I tell you. Milk your job or milk the job for every single thing that you can because they're milking you.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they'll be, they'll go to my department and be like, hey, like, do you want to comment on this and that? And no, he doesn't work here for 4 years. Like,
Yeah.
But it's just, it's definitely, it's needed, right? And now with the mental health crisis, like, it does help when you start something on the side because it gives you a path and an extra motivation. Like, it gives you that extra motivation.
100%. And you mentioned something about your wife being involved in your business as well. How much has that been a bonus or a great help for you in you leaving the job and transitioning away from the job, but then also building up your company?
So she went to like the first 3 jobs with me, and I was like, wow, this is actually work. Like, I'm out. So she, we opened it together, and then she hasn't really been. She just likes to collect the checks and yell at me. She says she's the boss. She's like, I'm the boss. I'll get the checks. No, but now she actually owns a clothing boutique, so she has her thing going on, and she's not really involved too much in anything with the like.
But the support is there.
Oh yeah. She we support each other 100%. Whatever she needs, goes both ways. So, when I said I wanted to leave law enforcement, there was definitely some hesitation. There was definitely some like, hey, are we gonna be okay?
Yeah.
Because your bank account has $2,000 type thing. Like, you gonna be okay? Like, you gonna figure this out? And like, yeah, we'll figure it out. We're gonna do it because this isn't working.
Right.
And a hard transition, that something I never thought of was, when those consistent checks started coming in every other week, and now all of a sudden you don't have checks coming in, you're pulling it from the business. Now all of a sudden, like, it's just something that I never thought of that, like, all right, do I need to be W-2? How do I pull money from this? Because before it was always like, hey, honey, let's just go out and buy dinner on Blue Lake.
Yeah.
We never pulled a paycheck. So now it's like, all right, how do we even get this in our account legally and correctly? So that was a whole nother.
Okay. I was just talking to my wife about that earlier.
Yeah, it was a whole nother thing. Like, and we made it work. Everything was fine. And it motivated me to figure it out and, get business coaches and get help, like, mentors. I think that's something too, that the mindset shift of like, before when you're a cop, you kind of know it all almost. You're like, no, like, I know the Ohio Revised Code.
Yeah.
Like that's fine to like, all right, cool, I'm in business now. Like, what do you do? Right. So it's like you're watching all these YouTube videos and you're like, wow, I don't know nothing. Like S Corp? What is that? What is an S Corp?
Yeah.
Um, so I think that is a huge thing. And that's probably the hardest shift I have with first responders is getting them to believe how much a mentor or a coach can help you.
Mm.
That is the hardest thing. Um, to be like, no, he's here for you. He's going to help you. You're going to pay him X amount a month or whatever the case is, but you're not going to make all those same mistakes that cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars.
That's right. That's right. I saw somebody, and I'm not trying to pick on anybody, but at the same time, this is a lot of how law enforcement thinks. For some reason, law enforcement is some of the cheapest people that I've ever met in my life, and I don't know why. But I was going through the Facebook group, and it's impressive that I want to touch on that a little bit more. But I saw a gentleman, he commented on the price of your conference.
Yeah.
I was just like, if people just only knew what comes from putting yourself around the right people and how priceless it is, there'll be a lot more of us that are successful instead of thinking of why we can't afford it.
Agreed, 100%. I mean, that's the only reason that group was created was because I have a mentor and I have a coach, and I kept telling him how passionate I was about wanting to help people. Like that's something from law enforcement that didn't change. Is I want to help people. And he's like, Nate, he's like, you have a story, and then it was like all these Facebook groups are popping up, and then it was like, okay, I'm talking to all these cops that don't want to be cops anymore, and firefighters don't want to be firefighters. And it's like, how can I get this message out there, to help more people? And then that Facebook group was created, but I would guarantee you that would have never been created if I was not around the right people. And, you have to pay to be around the right kind of people because there's not enough in your area that you know of.
That's right. That's so true.
That you know of.
And with social media, and it's just no excuse. There's no excuse. Like if you can't reach you reach me, and I'm all the way in New York. That's
right.
Media.
Mm-hmm.
So now I told my wife, I said, I'm doing everything in my power to make sure I make it to that conference.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
I'm not joking around because it's just so, I'm not finding other cops that have something like this in place already.
Mm-hmm.
So why not put myself around people that already have figured it out? And I'm looking at you, like we started talking through Instagram. Like I said, I'm looking at your page, Instagram page. I was like, yo, this is great. This is, great concept. And you sent me something else. I don't remember what it was. Or I looked at something else. I looked at one of the speakers that's going to be there, and her page on TikTok. She had a lot of followers.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, by the way, I have this Facebook group. It has 7.5 thousand followers. I'm like, bro, what is this guy not doing? Like, what? I said, like, you already started a successful company, carpet cleaning company. You have conferences going on in regards to police officers and law enforcement and entrepreneurship. And then you have a 7.5K group. I'm like, who is this guy?
I know. It's crazy.
How do you find the time to do all of this stuff, Nate? How do you make this happen? And this is, I want to tie this into the question that I just asked. It's kind of a double question. One of the main things, especially because of my market and who it is that I'm talking to, they're going to be New York City police officers. The main issue for them is that they don't have as much time as you did as a police officer and as a deputy, to work 5 days and then have two off, and then have, 5 days, then you have 2 off, and then you have 5 off. How does that work?
Yeah, so you work 5 days. So I work Monday, Tuesday, have off Wednesday, Thursday, then work Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The following week, I'd have Monday, Tuesday off, work Wednesday, Thursday, then have Friday, Saturday, Sunday off.
Right. So that's the biggest rebuttal, and that's the biggest pain point, is that they're hit with a lot of overtime. There's not a lot of manpower. So what advice do you have to offer a lot of the people in the department that I came from on how to figure it out and how to make it work?
So what's your guys' schedule like?
For the most part, they're working on something new, but from what it is that I was used to. If you worked on patrol, you usually had 5 days on, 3 days off, 5 days on, 2 days off, and it constantly rotated like that. If you were in a special unit like myself, you usually just had 2 days off during the week, work five. Either it'll be Friday, Saturday off, Saturday, Sunday, or Sunday, Monday. But the thing is, they always have events going on in New York City, and there's always crazy crime going on. So a lot of times you have to come in on your days off, which are called regular day off, overtime, RDO overtime. And then if you had 2 days off, now you only have one. If you had 3 days off, now you only have two. Or sometimes sometimes you don't even get those days off. And sometimes you have to stay later based off of whatever is going on in the precinct, and they adjust your schedules based off of the crime that's going on in the precinct. The list goes on.
Yeah, I would say, any advice, like let's just take window washing for example. Like if you were, someone young in the department, like group up together with a few other young ones, and then just create that window washing company. Whoever does the job gets the money. Because I think that the more you're available, it obviously helps. But it's like if four of you kind of get underneath the same name, and then now all of a sudden you can service clients more frequently, your name's going to get out there. So it's like, all right, cool. Now everyone's benefiting for that $100 an hour, right? And I think that was a good starting point for me. It was like, how much do I want to make per hour? Like, what is it going to take? Because I'm making 40 here. Like, all right, cool. I want to make 100 an hour. So it's like now you can go work for 4 hours on your day off and make $400. And you're doing a couple things. One, you're not getting burnt out, right? You're not going to take that last call that's going to set you over the edge on an overtime shift. And you're making money.
That's right.
Yeah, I think that is definitely, the key. Just get with some people. And then, now all of a sudden when you're on duty, create those extra things with that in mind. All right, cool. Hey, I want to meet a firefighter because he has more days off than me. So now it's like, cool, you're going to stop on duty at that firehouse, build some relationship with some fire guys. And then next thing you know, you have the answer. You're like, cool, this dude's got way more time off than me. Like, I'm going to pay him $30 an hour. Make it worth it to him. Because those guys always need side jobs.
Hey, what's your Cash App, your Venmo, your Zelle? Because people are going to need to pay you for that just dropped. I would have never thought that. Most precincts, or a lot of precincts, especially in Manhattan, are attached to a firehouse.
Okay. Yeah.
You have to walk out the door, walk around the corner, and the firemen are right there.
Oh my God. Yeah. Build relationships. Like it's all about relationships in the entrepreneur world. And I think that, once my mindset shifted, that's exactly what I did. I stopped at all the different firehouses. I built relationships with those guys. And you know what? If they don't work for you, you have a customer. So what's the difference? You're not an advertiser to them. You're not like, hey, like, let me clean your carpets, bro. It's more like, hey, I like you. You like me. You need a carpet cleaner. Call me.
That's amazing.
It's like, I want to see more win. Like, I just want to see more cops win.
Yeah.
Like that's what I like. And it'd be different, I think, if I walked up to cops and everyone's like, or fire, and like, dude, I'm so happy here. Like, this is the best job. But doesn't that sound like a joke? Like, doesn't that what I just said? You're like, that won't happen. Like, you're like, that's not going to happen. But it's like, why? Like it could.
It can.
But it's not. It's not. So go wash windows.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's
when I love it. And I love like helping first responders in that groups, definitely, kind of kicking off. And that event is on 10-4. It was kind of a playoff 10-4.
Yeah.
But the female you were talking about, go ahead.
How long ago did you start the group?
Like February. It's good stuff, It's good stuff.
I'm gonna need to talk to your mentor.
All right, sounds good.
Or you could just mentor me.
No, it's good. We'll partner up, man. Let's do it. Like, seems like we're already hitting it off to begin with. So, I mean, I'm
and you know what? I spoke to my partner that I do wholesaling with, and he was like, we're trying to create something, but if I told him all about you, but
oh, thanks, man.
He was like, but if it makes sense to just partner.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's all about relationships, honestly. Like that's what the game is. And like, if you can excel and I can excel, like why wouldn't we do it? Like, why not? Like, and the people at this event, like the female you're talking about, that's AK Desani. She has an amazing story. And she was a deputy for a while, went through some mental health stuff, basically created an app and now has a program for like mental health, kind of like Beat the Burnout is what she calls it. And she's an amazing person to begin with. So people that come to the event get to see her talk, which she really doesn't do in this form of like, hey, this is my story. This is what I created. This is why I created it.
Yeah.
So you're going to hear from that. You're going to hear from Mike the Cop, who has, 1.1 million followers, created so many social media. His goal is to change 10,000 officers or first responders' lives by giving them different avenues. It's called the 10-7 Project. And, so he's going to be there. And then Adam Davis is going to be there. Adam Davis has a lot of different businesses, has wrote, I think, 9 books, and just an amazing human being who he offers coaching. And I want to say his coaching program's quite a bit of money. So it's like, to get him in front of you, for the $500 ticket that person didn't like, it's unbelievable. And it's all these people under one roof. And the thing is, too, they're not just coming to speak at the event, they're coming to stay at the event. So it's like you come in the doors at, whatever time we're starting, 8:30, 7:30, they're going to be there. When you leave at the end of the day at 6 p.m. or whatever time it runs out, like, they'll still be there. If you get the VIP ticket the night before, you get to go out to dinner with them. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's so many benefits of doing this and skipping all those years of struggle that it's unreal. It's awesome. And I just wish that I could figure out a way for more first responders to be like, all right, cool. He's in it to actually teach us. Like, he's here to actually so we can learn. It's nothing to do with money, because it really is not. The reason why you have to have money is because everything costs money, right? You have coffee in the morning for you have donuts, right? We have to have donuts for a first responder, right? Donuts for 100 people, that stuff, that costs a lot of money. So does coffee. So do the speakers, so does the venue, so do, there's just so many things. Lunch, plus the wrap up dinner. Like, there's so much stuff that costs money that I cannot afford to do it for free. I wish I could.
Yeah.
But I just can't. And, I would say the biggest struggle is just to get first responders to realize that, hey, we are doing this to help you. We are not doing this to make money.
Right.
We're doing this because I want to see you grow and be happy with your family.
But
that is why.
What they have to understand as well, and it's just exactly what you said, that in order to help more people, money has to come in.
Mm-hmm.
In order to grow, money has to come in. People need to understand that.
Yeah.
Not only that, people need to understand the importance of investing in themselves. And if they think that everything is going to be a handout and free, then when it comes down to their business, they are going to have the same mentality and they're going to sell themselves short.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I think that, a mentor can only excel. Like, it can't hurt. Like, there's, one of my mentors, he, basically got a private jet for his first time for his grandma. His grandma was like 90, turning 90, got a private jet. And he said the power of like me getting on that jet and like me feeling the impact of my grandma, like her first time being on a private jet, it was the power of now him knowing that feeling that he is going to chase. If you don't know the feeling, you're not going to chase it. And, the power of doing that is kind of what's driving me too. Like, the power of seeing my friends excel at window washing, landscaping is like, all right, cool. You can do it too. Like, let's do it. I'll show you how to do it. I know this, and this, that you can start tomorrow. Or, the other thing that the first responders have a thing with is social media. And that's a hard one to break because I'm still like borderline, like not liking it myself.
Right.
Put that camera in front of you and you kind of like go a little different, but, once you kind of share your message and put it out there, realize that, no one's going to come to your house, so to say, and break in your house and all this stuff. Like, I'm sure it has happened before, but it's not very common. Don't be scared of it. It's a tool when you're a business. Social media is a tool.
It really is. And sometimes I struggle with that, but I realize I have to stay consistent. Even though I might not have 10,000 views for every post, I'm sure from you were able to look at my page, see a couple of reels, understand what I was talking about, and kind of get my mindset somewhat to say, all right, this guy might be decent. Maybe I will hop on his podcast, or maybe I will pay him more attention than the next man that's DMing.
For sure. I agree 100%. I mean, I always make fun of myself because I have, 300 followers or something. And I look through those followers and there are some big followers in there, but they're like, I just have 300. And you're like, you kind of play a little mind game, but it's like, you're not doing it for the followers. You're doing it to help people. And I see that the message gets out, and that's what really matters to me. Then just like you, man, I like watching your videos. I knew we were gonna jive together, and I'm just like, let's make it happen. So
Yeah,
uh,
and that's what really surprised me is the fact that you didn't have a whole bunch of followers, but then, like I said, I went to the Facebook group, and it's like, whoa, you know, it's like, whoa, this man knows what he's doing. So, yeah, man, I mean, what you're doing is great. Just tell people what's the name of your Facebook group again, and how would they go about joining? And
yeah, so if you search Off Duty Entrepreneur, you'll come up to my main Facebook page, and then in your search bar there might also be like Off Duty Entrepreneur First Responder Group. That's the first responder only group that you can join. It's free. It's just a bunch of first responders that talk about how to start and grow side businesses. There's awesome tips in there, whether it's how to get funding, how to start different CRM programs to use, different advertising avenues, as well as just first responder based businesses. So if you're like, hey, I want a knife, but I want a cop to make it, that's in the group. You can just say, hey, I'm looking to do this knife, da 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 da, and then you'll probably have 30 people to respond like, hey, like I do that, hey, I do that, or stippling for a firearm. There's a lot of people that do woodworking in there. They make like custom flags and all that good stuff. A lot of people in there do it, and there's so much potential that I mean, it's an awesome group that's just becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. So
that's great. That's great. Helen, where can people find you on Instagram, TikTok, any other social media platforms?
that's a great question. Um, so I think on Instagram I'm at Nate_Mitch, MITCHHH.
I can hear you right now if you need me to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I'm like, I don't know.
I really, I mean, listen to this, guys. He barely uses Instagram, but yeah, he's killing it on Facebook and Facebook groups, right? So it just goes to show, like, you don't have to stay hyper focused on Instagram or, one or the other. As long as you're focused in one area, you can still get the job done. Oh, let me check you out, Nate.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think too, it definitely depends on what you want to do. So like Facebook, let's say, is better for home service companies. So if you're trying to start a home service company, Facebook's the way to go. It's really the way to go for just about anything that you're trying to sell. Instagram is good for like that glamour shot, right? Like, wow, I want people to see this, but not necessarily buy it. I feel like that's really what Instagram's good for, or just getting attention to funnel them into something else.
There you go.
You have TikTok, right? So TikTok is mainly a younger generation thing. So that's not really going to be your main customer base, but you're going to have a lot of views there. You can spread it quick, you can boost posts, and it will get to a lot of people. But that's creating the conversations to direct them to something. Right. And I think that knowing the platform you're using is very important. And Mike the Cop, I mean, that dude's mastered. I mean, he's built so many TikTok accounts that are over 1 million plus, and then just deletes them. He doesn't even care anymore. He's like, I'm good. Wow. And then now he's building up another one. Wow. So it's he's obviously going to be at the event talking about that and the value of that. Like, if you want more eyes on you, which you always do to sell a product, you want more eyes. There's more opportunities. There's different TikTok cops out there. That do that. They basically create eyes and they get advertising, kind of like affiliate things, and they get affiliate money brought in. But that's still a gray area with a lot of departments. So you have to be very careful with doing that type of stuff. But knowing your audience is important.
That's true. And I'm glad that Mike the Cop is going to be there. I've been following him for years on my Purpose Over Pension page. I was following him as well. I see what it is that he's doing, and he somehow followed me back the other day. So he has over 3. I mean, he's probably the most well-known police officer, or one of the most well-known police officers or ex-police officers out there on social media. So
agreed.
Really,
yeah.
To have him follow me. I mean, Purpose Over Pension, I guess the name kind of stands out to him.
Oh, it's cool. He's an awesome guy to talk to. Just phenomenal, motivating. Adam Davis is up there as well. Like, he's now, coaching people on how to write books as well as how to be a motivational speaker. So, He's got some powerful stuff. Like I said, he's already done $9. I think he's going for 10 and 11 here shortly. And then, AK Desani. I mean, she's just a phenomenal person that has real stories, and kind of created her stories on the unknown path, just like everyone else. And I think that has a ton of value when it comes to this event as a whole, right? So it's like everyone in the event has been a first responder. Like, we're not tricking you. I hired a videographer that's flying in from Colorado that was a cop, and I'm paying like way more than I would if I just had a local guy.
Let's go. Yes.
But it's like, it's the purpose, right? It's like there are other avenues after you've been a cop and first responder that you can take. You don't have to feel trapped. That's the most common thing. Like, I'm just a cop. I feel trapped. The pension's good. And like, you stop worrying about that stuff. When you make $500K, right? It's like, all right, insurance $1,000 a month. Like, that's $12,000 a year. Do you think that matters at $500,000?
Here you go.
Like, okay, you're gonna have $1 million in your deferred comp. All right, cool. I'm gonna do $1 million next year. You like, do you think that matters?
Let's go.
And I wish that law enforcement and first responder would see that if you go make the money, it's not that much money. You work 25 years, spit out raw.
It's not, and there's people that we have something called the increased take-home pay for people that have around the same amount of time as me and came on before me, that you could add to your pension. And people are like, oh, I have $100,000 overage. Just now I'm gonna have a $200,000 overage. And I'm like, what's an overage? Like, what is it? Who cares about an overage when you have your own business and you're making 400, 500, 600, $1 million a year? Who cares? You worry about an extra $200,000 for the rest of your life, where you could be setting yourself up now and blow past that within 2 months at one point or another.
I agree. I mean, it's out of control, and then to get out and then see how much money there is to be made is shocking. I mean, it is. I can't figure out. That's why I have a mentor, right? It's like, I can't figure out how to get there either, but that's why I have someone guiding me. I can't get halfway across town without Google Maps. Heaven forbid if Google Maps was a paid for app, right? I mean, they've been making a killing, and it's like, that's what a mentor is. A mentor is Google Maps, but you pay for it.
That's such a good point, man. Very well.
I'm just ready to get more first responders on board, and I'm not hating on anyone that wants to be a cop the rest of their life. I am not. I'm with you. I support you. I'll donate to you, whatever it is. Like,
right.
But I on the donating topic, I've also helped more people than I ever have off duty and through the group than I ever have on duty. Ever. And I've done that by bringing in money and then sponsoring different events, sponsoring my friend's baseball team that are first responders, donating to different things. We donated $5,000 to the Dream Machine Foundation, which basically takes kids that have like terminal cancer or just, cancers, and basically the family has to relocate because of that tragedy. We were able to donate $5,000 to that. And as a group, we donated like $751,000. We made 70 kids' dreams come true. And it's like, I would never be able to do that as a first responder. I would never be able to be part of that. I wouldn't even be in that room. And I think that, when it comes to helping people, there's a lot of different ways to help people. So now we're kind of using like Blue Lake as just a vehicle to help more people, like to help people.
To be a philanthropist.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah, philanthropist.
Yeah. I mean, it is so cool. And it's pretty wild. And besides, like, I haven't seen a traumatic event since I've left law enforcement. And it's pretty phenomenal, like the different changes that you go through mentally after you leave.
Wow. Yes. Yeah. Wow. Well said, Nate. I mean, I'm realizing that law enforcement isn't just going out into the street and fighting crime, but it's also helping amongst our own peers, and just like we go out into the street and we help people that are suffering mentally or suffering with crime, we're doing the same thing for our own peers in a different way.
Yeah, for sure. I couldn't agree with you more. And And then that's really what, what motivates me a lot is, trying to help these guys. And especially when mental health is so high, like, if you take a low spot in mental health and you're like, hey, like I'm gonna start a window washing company, that's gonna motivate you because you have a new path, right? All of a sudden you don't see your path torched. You're like, all right, cool, I got this new path. This baby looks nice, and then you're like smiling again, and you're having, those fun conversations, and it's like, and once again, it's okay if you don't want to do it. I'm just giving you another path.
Wow. Wow. Good stuff, brother. Good stuff. And by the way, your Instagram is neat _ MITCH, 3 H's afterwards. For anybody that should be following Nate, this man has dropped so much game in this podcast session. Like I said, he should be listing his Cash App so that I can donate to it and everybody else can. But the way I'm going to return that is as soon as I get off this call, I'm going to be booking a VIP ticket. So that's how I'll show my appreciation in what it is that you're building and what it is that you're doing and the sacrifice that you're making. I'm in there.
Cool. I appreciate that.
I'm sold, brother. If there's anything else that you want to shout out, any other pages, any other events, anything else that you have going on that could bring value to law enforcement, just dump it all here. If not, and there's anything else that you want to mention, we could go there too.
No, I would just say, make sure you join the free Facebook group. A lot of good people, a lot of good free information on stuff. And I mean, shout out to you, man. I mean, it's been awesome meeting you, awesome talking to you. It's crazy this relationship starts Sunday because I feel like you're an older brother now. And I'm just excited to meet you. True.
Same here, man. I mean, this is every podcast interview that I do, I'm like, wow, this is groundbreaking. This is groundbreaking. This is groundbreaking. And this one doesn't fall short of it either, especially because it's so aligned with purpose over pension and your growth within a few months. I mean, what, 8 months?
Mm-hmm.
It's nuts. It's nuts. So I really appreciate you, brother. And I'll be seeing you soon. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Coming on the Purpose Over Pension podcast. And be well, my brother. Keep doing your thing.
Thank you.
God bless.